Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and present these young ladies. They did a great job for us in national competition with FCCLA, and we have their advisors here with us. I'm going to introduce Ms. Melina Robinson. She will come on up and she can tell you a little bit about the events.
Well, thank you all very much for allowing us to be here. We really appreciate the opportunity to have these girls recognized. We have some of the ladies that are not able to be here with us today because of sports and other commitments, but a couple of our ladies were able to be with us. And if I could, just get Celeste Stiles and Kennedy Forbes to come up here, please. And also my co-advisor, Renee McCurry. She has also been instrumental in helping me with this whole process and helping these ladies as we work through all the different projects that we do with FCCLA. For those of you that aren't familiar with FCCLA, it's Family Career Community Leaders. And part of what they do in this organization is they get to compete on the state, and if they do well enough, advance on to the national level. And these ladies, along with 3 other ladies, advanced to the national level in July in Nashville, Tennessee. And these ladies won silver in their competition, which was called Focus on Children. And they did a project on childhood obesity at the pre-K level. And then we also had Claire Ledford and Michaela Wiseman. They won a bronze medal in their category, and they did a project in the chapter service display category. And their project was on upcycling and working with younger children in the community, and they picked a scout troop that they did projects with throughout the year. And then we had a couple of other ladies, Emily Crowder and Michaela Cooper. Now, Emily did not get to advance on to the national level because of some health issues that she had going on this summer. But Michaela did, and by herself, she took that project on to the national level into the entrepreneurship event. And that was a very, very rigorous event. And we were very proud of her willingness to go on and present alone and to do that well by herself at the national level. So we're really proud of these ladies, and we thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you remember who drove your bus?
Actually, we do. He was a pretty nice fellow.
Well, I spoke to her on the way back to the school bus garage. I just ran into her. I wish you could have seen her glow.
Oh.
As she stopped right there in the road and told me about all that you all had done. She's very proud of you. We are too.
Very nice.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
ladies.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. It's a tool we employ each month to save time. We have agreed to this list of things as a group. We have consulted with Dr. Tipton in groups of 2 or less and are well aware of everything on the list and are about to approve all in one motion. It does not diminish the importance of these items, but they are all very important. But before we approve the consent calendar, does any member have any questions or concerns? Do we need a motion to adopt?
Sorry.
All in favor? Ms. Robinson, would you please read the consent calendar for us?
Tonight's consent calendar, we have the minutes, open and closed session from June 27, 2013. We have the resignation of Ms. Donna Sink, employed by verbal phone poll on August 16th, and Wanda Franklin as an EC behavioral assistant at Cane River, Sherlyn Sullivan as a math teacher at Mountain Heritage, and Tammy Tipton from cafeteria work at Mountain Heritage to cafeteria work at Brunswick Elementary School. Employed by verbal phone poll on August 22nd, 2014, we employed Denise Davis as child nutrition assistant at Mountain Heritage. And then we have employment of Pat Hagerman as a school bus driver substitute, Mark Ledford as a football assistant coach at Cane River, Michelle Dawn Kinlan as child nutrition substitute, Casey Peterson as football and wrestling assistant coach at Cane River, Becky Riddle as child nutrition and school bus driver substitute, Jennifer Silver as school bus driver substitute, Elizabeth Silvers as child nutrition substitute, and then Andrew Cooper as Spanish teacher at Mountain Heritage High School as a lateral entry and is pending a background check. We have handbook approvals for BLL Elementary, Burrowsville Elementary, Michael Elementary for the 2013-14 school year, and then we have a revision to the one-to-one student handbook for the Mountain Mount Heritage High School. We have overnight field trips, Mountain Heritage FFA to Salisbury on October 9th and 10th, 2013, and Mountain Heritage FFA to Louisville, Kentucky on October 29th and November 1, 2013. Then we have a calendar waiver approval for the 2014-15 school year. It's a calendar waiver. That is tonight's meeting calendar.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is unfinished business, and Dr. Tipton is going to tell us about our testing from the last school year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to remind you that as of this date, we do not have the test back for what we took either in end of grade or end of course last year. They will not be back. It's projected sometime in the middle of next month before we get them back. If you remember, Yancey County waived the 25% last year, knowing this would be back. It's not our fault. The state just not got them back. New set of tests, new set of everything that our students took, our teachers across the state. Our teachers have not seen this test. Our students do not necessarily know the exact format that this test will be on. So June Atkinson, state superintendent, says she expects across the state there to be about a 30% drop in test scores, as traditionally we do have anytime we come up with a new test form. So again, we do not have the test back yet, but we should be getting them back. Briefly, we just want to remind you that when they do get back, to expect a little bit of a dip in what we traditionally have on test scores.
Thank you very much. And in new business this evening, we have a request from Ms. Ashley Schubert. She seeks permission to see if there may be artifacts of interest on the Cane River Middle School site. And she's agreed to be here tonight to explain her goals and to answer any questions that may be provoked. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Ashley Schubert. I'm a PhD student in archaeology at the University of Michigan, and I'm interested in studying the Pisgah phase of Cherokee prehistory. And behind the Cane River Middle School, there is actually significant occupation from this time period that I've been utilizing previous collections. You can see in the top right-hand corner, those are some rim sherds that have been excavated in 1990 from the school. And they match up very well with the type of style that you see in this period. And these tend to be rather large villages that have palisaded fences around them, and houses that circularize a central public area. And Cane River definitely fits within this model of occupation. But it's an unusual site in that it's actually really far north and a much more mountainous area than you see other sites. Usually we see them along the French Broad or Pigeon River, where you can have more agricultural land and stuff. But at Cane River, it's a really large site and a rather tough area to do agriculture in. So it's a really interesting place to study, and that's why I'm really interested in it for my dissertation work. These are pictures from the 1989-1990 excavation, and they basically did a 17 by 25 meter salvage work in the middle of the football field. And Dave Moore, who's at Warren Wilson College, was the state archaeologist at the time, and he came in to remove as many materials as he could while the septic system was being put in, I believe. And so he was the first person to tell me about this site and get me interested in the artifacts. And I already spent this good summer there looking at the collections that had already been dug up and were curated there. But I was interested in going back and seeing what more could be done. This is actually the area that they excavated, and you can see there's the palisade lines. These are the blue dots or post holes. And then this is actually a structure right here. But all of these red circles are features that have a lot of the archaeological material that you might have seen at the Rushray Museum. A lot of ceramics, a lot of lithic coins, things like that. So this past spring and summer, I did what's called a geoarchaeological survey. And this uses completely non-invasive methods of survey. We basically walk over all of this land with a giant magnet that looks subsurface to see if there's any archaeological disturbances. And when we live on the land over a long period of time, we make the soil actually more magnetic by firing things and doing a lot of cooking. A lot of the rocks are really magnetic. So basically what you're seeing is the white is complete absence of magnetism, and the black is really, really magnetic stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of historic material tends to obscure this. So whenever you see this kind of haloed black area with a lot of white around it, that's usually historic metal. That's actually a goalpost on the football field. If you get a lot of historic brick, it's very magnetic. So we had to deal with a lot of fences and things that were blowing out the area, but what I'm going to talk about is the school property, which is right here, these three areas, and what we're seeing. So the baseball field actually has a lot of earth that's been added and moved. So all of this stuff right here is soil that was dumped on to make it a level playing field. So there's not going to be anything that's going to be in situ there. And obviously all of the stuff that's circled in purple is really magnetic stuff that's kind of blowing out the image. This is the edge of the baseball diamond. And there are a few areas that these might be features right where the red dot is, these darker areas. But since it doesn't seem like there's a lot of preserved material there, we could core, which would be like a small little core, to see if we get any charcoal or artificial material. But because it's kind of in an area that's being used and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of material there, I wouldn't suggest any excavation in that area. The football field. The football field is pretty crazy looking, but as you can see, all of these lines running along here, that's the septic system or the irrigation system that was being put in. And this area right here is actually where the previous excavations were. So we can see that in the magnetic survey. A lot of this stuff is unfortunately obscured by the goalposts and the metal that's underneath. We can kind of see some of the features peeking through where I have these red arrows. You can see like little shadows of features. Not a lot though, especially over in this area. I was hoping there'd be some of the original land surface, but it looks like that was actually stripped for the baseball field. So a lot of this has been heavily landscaped, so there isn't a lot of preserved archaeological features. Again, I could core some of those pits on the football field, so if you wanted to put anything underneath there, you'd know what you were getting into. But the best preservation seems to actually be along the fence line leading into this top field. And here there's actually a lot of archaeological material. These.
Where is this exactly?
So if you're on the football field and there's that little kind of fenced off triangle behind it towards the river, that's where this is. And currently it's being utilized for pasture by the neighbors, although the horses were never there when I was there. So you can see this kind of darker line. And what we think that is likely the palisade line. You get a lot of pits that get lined up along the palisade lines, and those are obviously filled with a lot of really magnetic material. So you can't see necessarily the house basins because those don't tend to be very magnetic, but you can see all the pits that are in the houses. So these are huge pits, each of these about 1 meter across. So there's a lot of activity going on right here. You can also see a lot of these lines running along here. This is kind of a circular establishment, and then there's even stuff over here. Obviously the fence obscures a lot of the signature. And then over on this other red box, sorry, it's hard to see with this, but there's obviously a lot of pit stuff going on over here. This is likely a domestic area or a household. And these are the areas that I would really only want to sample from because they would give us the best comparability in terms of what were these people eating, what were they doing in their houses, what were they cooking, and also the public works, the palisades, are very interesting in terms of comparing across other sites, the size and how much effort went into actually creating these. So this is really the only area that I would propose with your approval to go in and actually excavate. I want to focus just on these two areas at first, and then kind of stop and assess over the winter if we want to continue on any further in the spring. So the excavation would be those 3 to 4 areas just north of the football field. Any work that I want to do that might be on either of the sports fields, I want to limit to just coring, and that can be really flexible, so I wouldn't have to interrupt any games or anything. I don't really know how long I'd have to excavate, so it might be that this would have to go into the spring of 2014. But all of the artifacts would need to be analyzed, and I have to send some for dating for a year, and then those could then be used to go into an updated exhibit at the Rush Ray Museum. I've actually been working with Elaine Dellinger, and we've secured funding to update the exhibit, and also utilize some of the artifacts for the traveling trunks to the schools, so that they could be accessible in the classrooms for teaching materials. The rest of the materials that most people don't really want to exhibit, the really tiny shirts and the kind of uglier stuff, would either be curated with the already excavated materials at Warren Wilson, or they go to the University of Michigan. Either way, they have to be an institution where researchers can still access them if they're excavated from public property. And yeah, no, I can answer any questions you have.
When are you thinking, if you get approved, when are you gonna start?
I'd start as soon as possible because I'm a little worried about the amount of time before the ground freezes. I do also want to say in terms of my methods, I am obviously in contact with the Tribal Historic Preservation Office of the Eastern Band and Cherokee Indian. They have a very set policy about excavating anything that might have burials. So we've already kind of discussed the protocol for that. When I excavate, I open up the wider horizontal areas so I can see the size and shape of every feature and can identify which ones would be burials and wouldn't, so we can avoid having to excavate any of those. Obviously, I can't guarantee that something would happen when we come across the remains, but that would be a case where we would work with the Cherokee. They come, they do a cleansing ceremony, and we cover it back up and leave that area alone. But it's definitely something I don't plan on or want to happen at all.
Through David Moore, do you cooperate with our state archaeologist?
Yeah, Linda Hall is in the Asheville office, and so she's the person that I would talk to. Obviously, this site has already been filed and formed, and they know it's there. But again, it would be more a question of which artifacts would stay in Burnsville and the museum exhibit. It unfortunately costs money to actually curate materials with the state office now, so that's why I would probably take them back to University of Michigan because it's free to do so there.
This is, you've done for this view to us, one of the questions we have to do, we have the authority to allow you to take out of North Carolina to Michigan, or to give them to Warren Wilson.
It depends honestly where the money's coming from. My site's funded through the University of Michigan, but that's obviously a public institution. So yes, the materials, I know Franny does work in Haywood County, that all went back to University of Michigan because that's where she was funded from. But it would be a simple matter of just filing the paperwork and making sure that we keep track of where the materials go. They often do get shared and spread around between schools and public works. Really anyone who has the ability to research them and will publish on it can have access to, and that's dug up via public funds. But I would want to insist that the more exemplary educational artifacts stay here in the exhibit where they can be viewed by the most people.
Do you foresee any opportunities for classrooms to
Oh, absolutely.
observe what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd want to definitely schedule it so I could have interpretive posters and things out. But I think it would be incredible wrong to not use this as an educational opportunity. Looting is a big problem, actually, in this area. The Forestry Service archaeologists sort of talked to me about this problem. So obviously security is going to be something we're going to think about, but also I think education, why you shouldn't loot, is going to be a big project for me. And starting with just getting the word out about why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it and why you shouldn't go dig it up by yourself.
So just, at this time, you are simply asking to do some core samples.
I'd actually like to start excavating in that triangle area as soon as possible because that's going to take the most time. I do it very slowly and meticulously. It'll be a lot of mapping and taking pictures and screening. The coring can happen within a day or two. It doesn't take that long to core an area.
Are you working by yourself?
I'm going to be the director of the project, but I actually have a lot of people that have already offered to come help. A lot of people associated with the Yancey History Association have an archaeological background, as well as people in the Forestry Service will actually be borrowing a lot of the equipment from that I'll be using.
We certainly do not want to make a misstep at this stage and offend somebody, and you've been very, very open about it. You've worked with everybody. Is there a contact person that I could get with and make sure that one, we are doing the right thing with granting this, and just make sure that before I can recommend this board, I feel good that I'm recommending something that is legal and I have the authority to recommend?
Sure. We talked to Scott Ashcraft, who's the U.S. Forestry Service contact that I have. He actually lives here in Burnsville. Their office is just at the intersection of 19 and 26. I've been talking with Tyler Howe, who's the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer of the Eastern Band. And I can give you his email number.
If you would, before you leave, either leave Roseanne or email me tomorrow, whatever
Sure.
was convenient, just some of these contacts.
Yeah. And then also there's the state archaeology office. Thank you.
I learned a lot.
30 years of high school history. I remember the dig at Camp River very well. And we certainly want to work with you. I hope you understand. We just want to make sure we're doing
No,
everything.
I'm glad that everyone's checking all the boxes. It's a good
We just
thing.
need to make sure we're doing everything as it should be. And we'll need your help.
Okay.
Once again, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, each month the board chooses to hear reports from different departments so we can have first-hand information from throughout the system. And this evening, we would like to feature not just a department, but a cutting-edge process. Dr. Tippett.
This is the first board meeting we've had since they will start school this year and start on the initial one-on-one initiative at the high school. And as you know, we're looking to extend our Chromebook initiative, 3rd grade through 8th grade, into some various categories. So I've asked a couple of people to come in and talk to us a little bit about that. At this time, I would ask, I don't know what format, if Kevin wants to go first, or I think you want Kevin, and then.
And then me and then Sean, we're team.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on how things are going in high school. So I'll do this in 3 parts. I'll share with you some of our successes, and I'll share with you some of our problems, and I'll share with you our next steps. So I'll try to keep it kind of brief. As many of you know, we spent the first week of school with 4 nights of rollout to parents by class. It was a hectic time, but we now have given out a little over 600 Chromebooks. We have about somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 50 students that have not received their Chromebook yet for various reasons. The successes we've seen so far, we've seen teachers that are very positive. They're positive in the culture change. It is a different atmosphere when you're dealing with that kind of technology, so that has been a success. More student involvement. And during our classroom walkthroughs, we've seen more engaged students who are able to participate in class, in a better way with the technology. The note-taking abilities, different things are much better. I will share one quick little story about one of our students who was afraid due to a disability he wouldn't be able to get a Chromebook. And upon receiving his Chromebook, his mother said that he looked forward to coming to school every day now, that he just loved being a part. It was interactive, and he also has severe autism, which made it better for him. Again, the biggest thing I've seen is in our classrooms, probably the transformation that's taken place with the kids. They seem to just latch on to things so quickly, and they want to use the technology and use it for their learning. So that's been very beneficial. Some of our problems, obviously with a rollout of this nature, there are going to be things that occur that sometimes you don't plan for. We've had a couple glitches with our Google Apps syncing. We've had a certificate problem that we've had to fix, and we had to go back and reload all the certificates on the Chromebooks. That's been a little stressful for our guys in the Media Center now, but they handled it very well. And I'm awfully proud of my folks because they worked very hard. They've worked with people to try to get them all the information they need. They've been very helpful to students with our help desk when they've had problems with the Chromebook. And as you guys know, the internet is a vast information system. And we do have filtering that goes on with our internet at home and at school. And anytime a new website pops up, we have asked parents to be advocates for us and make sure they supervise their children while they're on the internet. And we've had one report now of a new website that popped up that had some inappropriate material on it. We were able to get that handled in less than an hour, and DPI blocked the website. So we were very happy with the chain of command and how quickly we could get things that we know that were going on inappropriately stopped. Next steps. September the 23rd, which will be not next week, but the week after, we'll start Internet Safety Week for our students. That is required by state law. And also our Parent Safety Night. We're going to be doing it at the end of the first 9 weeks. We're just going to be going over basic internet safety with parents and trying to inform them and educate them. Also, at the end of the first 9 weeks on our Parent Teacher Day, we're going to be doing a technology showcase, where we just showcase to our parents exactly what's going on with the Chromebook so they can see some of the great lessons that are going on in classrooms. So those are some of our next steps that we'll be doing in the coming weeks. Do y'all have any questions for me?
What are Google Apps?
I think I was addressing the
I'm
board.
sorry, I apologize, it just popped up.
What are Google Apps?
Google Apps are just applications that Google provides that would make things easier than just going on the internet. So they're kind of shortcuts to getting the usefulness out of the internet. For example, instead of logging onto the internet and checking your email, you have a Gmail button you can click on and just check your Gmail. So it is nice in the area of education because they are categorized for education. And so as a teacher, I can go into the educational part of it and look at different Google apps that are available and then use those with my kids. We do have an approved list of apps that teachers are able to use with kids.
We were talking to Dr. Tipton today, and he informed us that they're working closely with the Google staff and people. Please keep us updated as to how that goes, you know, and what all takes place between you and Google. I know that's an important part of rolling this out, that you get the assistance you need.
And we are trying to build those relationships. That is very important, that we get quick and up-to-date responses from them.
Students doing pretty good for us, maintaining them, you know, not any damage. If you had any problem with damaging the Chromebooks so far?
At this point, we've had 2 filings of insurance. We've had 2 screens that have been broken in the first 3 weeks. So we feel pretty good. We knew the initial rollout would be busy, and we're trying to educate kids and parents on proper ways to take care of the Chromebooks. We did buy the protective cases to put them in, and it seems like now on a weekly basis I'm announcing, please make sure you don't take them out of those cases because those cases are there for the protection.
I was in the media center before school started and saw that pile of computers, and it's an amazing process that you all just completed.
It is.
Very, very impressive.
It's very overwhelming. I will say it is an instrument for education. We can't replace great teaching. And we're just trying to offer them every instrument we can to provide our kids with the education they need to go into college.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, as all of you know, that I came from classroom 3rd grade, and in 2003 we did the impact grant. And so we basically at Claremont had one-to-one for all the children there. And so it was really a great privilege for Mr. Huskins and his staff at the high school to allow me to come work that night, those nights to help roll these out. I saw kids that I had in 3rd grade coming back through that line, getting that Chromebook to go home again. Some of them were as young as kindergartners when they went down the steps to get on the buses in the afternoon taking a laptop home. So that was really a reward for me to be able to see that. There will be challenges. The teachers will be challenged. I was challenged in that classroom in getting in there and getting the process going and implementing that technology, but it was one of the most rewarding experiences that I have ever had in the classroom. And I'm just so excited that our teachers at the high school can see this. And now we're having the opportunity, by looking at our resources, of trickling the funds down to where we can put this at the middle school level and at the elementary level. And Mr. Huskins, we thought it was pretty awesome. We rolled out 600 the other night. Rockingham County has got 4,000 Chromebooks that they have been using for the last year and a half, so they have been a really good resource for us. And tonight, as I stand here, McDowell County is rolling out their Chromebooks to their seniors, I'll say seniors, to their high school. And we had an opportunity to go to Richmond to Mr. Jolly and a team from the high school prior to this, and they have like 11,000 devices down there that they're rolling out. So Google not being new to us, but nationwide, they're not. And we're just really very, very thankful to Golden League and for your all support that we can get in there and we can roll this out for our kids to make them as competitive as any kid wherever they might be in the United States or the world. So I do thank you for that opportunity. And Mr. Haskins is going to take off now.
So what we've been able to see in the success that the high school is having, we realized that there was a real power and a potential for us to, as we move down to the grade scale, to really pool some money together. The Race to the Top grant was a tool that had partnered with Golden League to help start the process for us. So we're on the tail end of the last year of that Race to the Top grant. So when we started looking around, we realized that we wanted to make the best use of that Race to the Top money. And so we started looking at making better use perhaps of some of our Title I school money as well, maybe rethinking how we had spent that Title I school money in the past and thinking, okay, one small pot of money with other pots of money can become a much bigger move and push. So we also had some money we've been saving with local technology as well. And so it really let us sit down at the first of our school year and say, what if? And so at the same time, there were two things that were sort of happening. One, we saw that what was getting ready to happen at the high school, we wanted to be able to prepare students for that. It's one thing to have an initiative that's there, but we want to sustain that. So you have to have students that are ready to use those things when they get there. And so we wanted to build capacity moving up. The other is what Kevin said. This is a 21st century learning tool. It's going to become a requirement at some point, and I'll show you here very quickly how that is the case. In learning, it is a tool of the 21st century classroom, much like we would think of as a pencil in the 18th century classroom. It is that. The other are two assessment pieces that are pushing. One is the fact that the state is making sure that by next year we are fully ready to go to mandatory online EOGs and EOCs. They have not backed off of that move, and so we feel like that's still going to be there. Plus, this year, our testing window, the window of the number of days that we have to administer those tests, that window has decreased. And so we knew that we were going to have to really maximize our technology this year and next year to be able to do that. So putting that money together with some impetus from these two areas, we started looking at some ways to purchase some devices in the third to the eighth grade, our other tested areas. So I won't necessarily bore you with all of the details of how we went through that, but this first slide just shows the combination of the race to the top funds and the technology savings that we have had in local technology money. It shows each school's breakout and how we decided to take that money and divide it. We started with the base number of devices for each school, and then based on student population, allotted the rest of those slides off the end there just a little bit. I don't know if it shows up or not. It'll come up in a later slide. But this is the funds that from the race to the top pot of money and the technology fund. Then we had each school look at their own Title I technology allotment that they had set aside. And so they were then able to purchase some devices on their own for their own Title I school budgets. And that's that total on the right-hand side for each school. So bottom line, when you put, and I'll skip to middle school, when you put all those together, we are getting ready to put a quote in. I think Kay actually did put the quote in for 369 more Chromebooks to be used in grades 3 through 8. This does not get us to a one-to-one with 3rd through 8th graders, but it takes a big chunk out, and we did not really foresee that possibility going into July and August. It was just sort of when we sat around the table and realized we can take a big step towards that. We are very close in some schools. As a matter of fact, some schools are actually over a one-to-one in their graded areas. If you combine what is already available in the desktop computer labs, most every school is able to do that. Burnsville is the one exception, and so that's something we'll have to know for down the road as we sort of help them move towards being able to be ready for testing as well next year. But we feel really confident about the move that we're making. It's a good use of several pots of money, and I think it's a unique time. We're not sure that we would have that opportunity again. So appreciate the cooperation of all the principals and school staffs and people for it all.
It's really great when people get together and have a vision and work together to accomplish that.
Yeah. And what amazes me is the fact that many counties are having to do this by, either going to, raising taxes or moving towards other initiatives from the county or bond allotments. We've been able to do this just by just sitting down and saying, what can we do together? And it's been a nice, it's been challenging at times, but it's also been very good to sit down and collaborate together and do that.
I guess it's a good time too to thank the commissioners again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Appreciate very much. Yes.
I do have, just to close with, I have a quick movie from our students that we wanted to share with you guys.
Good.
Just a couple minutes.
because I can type everything. My handwriting is pretty terrible, so I don't have to write everything down and give it to them anymore. I can just email it to them, share it with them. As far as doing research and stuff, we don't have to go like computer labs and everything. Because we have computers in class, and we can do research in class for projects and stuff.
We've really enjoyed using the Chromebooks in our classroom this year. We've used it for formative assessment. My students have been able to do testing in class. We've not had to leave and go to the computer lab and take time from class going to and from the computer lab, worry about other classes there. And they've been able to get instant feedback through this formative assessment. It's been really useful in our classroom.
I like my Chromebook because I can access it online and offline, even though so many people think I can't.
I like about the Chromebook, you can type easy, you can take your notes and instead of having to write it down, you can share notes, and whenever you need homework help, you can email one of your teachers.
I am really appreciative of having the Chromebooks in students' hands. It has been amazing. I no longer have to make copies, period. I can share everything with my students. They can pull it up. It is really pretty when I get it back. I do not have to worry about handwriting and trying to read handwriting. I can read the type. And I no longer have a big stack of papers to grade. I can simply comment on their work that they've turned in to me digitally. As you can see, we're back here in the lab with the Chromebooks so the students can record their observations as they make them into the data table that I've already created for them. And we can easily pull that information straight from their observations and do graphs and charts and so I've really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for providing us with Chromebooks.
I like the Chromebooks because they help me keep more organized.
Okay, what I like about the Chromebooks is that I get easy access to the stuff that I need for classes.
So we've been using the Chromebooks in my classroom quite a bit. Number one, I find that I can communicate with my upper levels a little better. The night before, I will email them, say, a link to a site we're going to look at, a French site. They can read it prior to coming to class. They can, do a few things before that. I can also email them links to websites that might help them with grammar, things like that. I've also got them linked to my webpage so that when they want to look at the most frequently used French verbs and French words, I have that on there for them. So as far as communication, that's communication. We've also been using Moodle a lot. So the Chromebooks for Moodle, we've been taking tests. Each of my levels has actually taken a test. Their tests now are on Moodle. I think they enjoy it. It gives them immediate feedback. The other thing we've been doing is also grammar games online. It's been a great experience because, like my French 2s, they've been able to come in, turn the Chromebooks. There's the grammar game or the vocabulary game right for them, and it wakes them up, and they actually enjoy it a lot. So thank you.
I've heard him use is culture change, and that's what we have to have, that's what we've got to push, and that it should not be an event that we use in technology in the classroom. It should be a normal part of it. Technology should just be infused in it, just like, when we taught, we never said, get your pencil out, and make a big deal. You don't need to get your whatever technology you have, it should not be a deal, it should just be part of that. Another thing he said that I thought was very important is that that's not going to take the place of good teaching. It's just another tool that the teacher has at his or her disposal to make sure that we provide the best learning opportunity we have for our students. And that's what we're looking at. The middle school is not mentioned that much because they're a little bit ahead of the elementary in the number of Chromebooks they have. I think they've got, Ms. Robinson, you've got about 150. Am I right on that? I think it's about 200.
There's actually, she wants to pull it up, the middle school. The reason I didn't mention it is because their numbers, they're not part of the order right now. Yeah, there's their numbers. They have 177 at East Yancey and 88 at Cane River. And those were from Race to the Top funds from last year.
So we're slow. We're getting there. But the main thing we have to worry about for one right now is take away anything else about it. We've got to be ready to test next year. And test in a very short period of time, and that's where we're going. And I think we're moving steadily, but surely that way.
Okay, may I say something? I have to do a technology readiness assessment like 3 times a year, and it's been kind of depressing because I have to go to each school and put in the number of devices we have for testing. I can't wait for that to come around now, like in October, so I can put all these new devices in, so.
What would surrounding counties look like if you showed the same numbers for them?
I know that Transylvania has 900, and they were fixing to buy more to roll out. I'm not sure how many McDowell had. It would depend on what their high school population is, because it was just going to the high school. Rockingham County is the biggest one I've seen thus far in North Carolina, but that was, we've had a little bit more contact with them.
I mean, how would it compare with Region 8 school?
Oh,
Now, you talking about a device of some kind, or
Yeah, roughly
Chromebook
like it's
specifically?
not one-to-one everywhere, but it's pretty impressive.
I don't know what the populations are in the county, Mr.
Avery County, they went with their commissioners, and Avery County's school board sets about 200,000 aside, the commissioner set about 200,000, and they have rented laptops. They have, I think it's 3rd grade up, they have Apple laptops for everybody, and from kindergarten first to second, they have, I believe it's iPads for everybody. So different schools, depending on what funding source you have. They've got that. Mitchell has more Apple, more computers. And we said from day one, is the Chromebook the best device out there? No, it's by no means the best device out there. Is it the best device we can afford? Yes, it was, and and that's kind of the approach we've taken on that. We're able to get a whole lot more for what money we have.
And Polk County has several, and they've been very successful down there testing with their Chromebooks too, so that was a big factor that we knew that it was a good fit for us, the online testing.
Do what you have to do.
Yes,
To
sir.
do it well.
And as a parent of a freshman, I don't have to buy that $99 graphic calculator now because there's an app for that. I'm really happy. Yeah, Google it. Sorry, Sam.
Ms. Renfro, if you would, talk to us a little bit about the finance.
You have before you the 2013-2014 initial budget. It's in a format, it's the uniform budget format that's required by the LGC, so it's a little different format, probably a little bit difficult to read. So it's for all the funds 1 through 8. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. You also have been provided the notes to all these funds in the budget, so if any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
I updated them a little bit before the meeting that we've already had to modify it a little bit from what our goal was back in the spring to what it is now, based on some problems that's come up, and we know we'll have to modify it through the year. We never can anticipate every time a water line's gonna break or something like that, but thank you for your flexibility in helping us keep up to date. It's up to date now. We have a very valid budget now. Who knows how we'll have to amend it and what we have to take out as different problems arise.
Thank you for all the information you provided to us too.
You're welcome. And it really, I mean, I guess it really didn't have to be amended a whole lot from what with the work you did in the spring. Like I said, there was some unexpected things come along that we had to modify it some, but it's really a current expense budget, not have to modify it very much at all.
So this evening, our objective is to adopt this initial
The
budget.
budget resolution for 2013.
I recommend.
And that's your recommendation. Anyone have any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I move we adopt the resolutions.
Any further discussion? All in favor? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Robinson, has anyone signed up for public input this evening?
Sir, I have Ms. Elizabeth Tillotson.
For those of you present here tonight, there's an option for public input at every board meeting. Statewide, this is required by North Carolina State Statute 115C-51. The ground rules for this option are posted on the entrance of the meeting room before every regular meeting. It's out there this evening. Our statute compliance is addressed by our own board policy 2310 and explains how stakeholders may speak publicly and/or to request an item to place on our agenda. Ms. Tillotson complied with policy 2310, and her request for a place on the agenda this evening was granted by the superintendent and the board chair. This protocol is specified in the same policy. And public presentations are by design for the board to listen, learn, and take the public's concern under advisement. Board members may ask questions to clarify points made by the presenter, but public input is not designed to provoke immediate dialogue or debate. Our policy 2310 directs board members not to address individuals who address the board, except to clarify points made by the presenter. Consequently, it's unlikely that board members will respond to presentations by any member of the public. Our policy charges the chair to establish the amount of time for presentations. Ms. Tillotson will have 4 minutes to express her concerns. I've asked Ms. Robinson to keep time so that the board can give full attention to public input. Ms. Robinson will alert the speaker and me at the 3.5-minute mark, and again at 4 minutes, when the speaker's time is up. As succinctly as I can, the board's operating procedure for public input is 4 minutes per person, per topic. Ms. Tillotson, you may begin.
Because I don't speak as quickly as Sam, so you want to speak in some parts of it. Regarding the section in the 1-1 Student Handbook on Parent-Student Orientation, page 3, and in conjunction with review of the Chromebook orientation presentation video found on the school website, I can find no information on the purposes and advantages of mobile technology, how to best support their child in safe and focused uses, or methods of obtaining safe access to the internet both at home and the community contained within. Regarding the section in the 1-1 Handbook on monitoring device usage, page 7, and with the expectation that federal law supersedes the handbook, the board may expect the possibility of violations of the right to privacy under the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution and Section 1983 of the U.S. Civil Rights Act. Intentional intercepts of electronic communications under the U.S. Electronic Communications Act, and intentional access of a computer that exceeds authorization to obtain information under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, and unauthorized acquisition of stored electronic communications under the Stored Communications Act, and more. It seems that Yancey County schools require parents to assume all liability for the use and misuse of the Chromebook laptops without instruction or support. It seems that Yancey County Schools' negligence in disclosing considerations of liability and privacy in contracts signed by hundreds of parents may be considered a misrepresentation of fact by fraud and inducement, undue influence, and unconscionability. It seems that Yancey County Schools' format of its parent-student orientation may be considered a misrepresentation of fact by fraud and inducement, undue influence, and unconscionability. It seems that Yancey County Schools require parents and students to give up their constitutional rights to privacy in exchange for technological resources and services. It seems that Yancey County Schools have constructed a contract that, without warrants or informed consent, opens the door to the same peeping Tom technology and invasion of privacy that resulted in a $610,000 settlement against the Lower Marion School District. As Justice Scalia wrote, when it comes to the 4th Amendment, the home is first among equals.
At the amendment's very core stands the right of a man to retreat into his own home and there be free from unreasonable government intrusion. I will not give up my right to privacy. I will not give up my right of expectation to privacy. I have not signed and will not sign any agreement, release, or contract containing such considerations. Any signature or oral agreement, consent, release, or contract obtained from my minor child while not in my immediate care, custody, and control are null and void. Should my child bring a Chromebook or any other school-issued device with monitoring capabilities remotely activated or otherwise into my home, I will appropriate the device until such time as those responsible may be prosecuted. Please provide parents with complete and specific definition of monitoring and tracing. Please explain the scope of the monitoring and tracing, including the location of the monitoring stations, the names and positions of the staff who monitor, the individuals or organizations that have access to this information, the schedule of monitoring, whether complaint-driven or a constant 24/7, the average number of snapshots and screenshots recorded in a day, the use of audio capabilities, and the selection
Ms. Tillotson,
process.
your time is up.
I thought that was a 30-second warning. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. Ms. Robinson, has anyone else signed the register for public
Does anyone have any
this evening?
questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
Let me advise the board that in your packets are information items for your perusal. And note that our next meeting is October 7th at 6 p.m.
That'll be the closed session, the regular session.
Right, the standard format. The closed session is at 6, and then the public session will be at 6:30 in here. Does any member know of any unfinished business? Our agenda is complete.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you for being here this evening.